everybody. I'm Caitlin Goldfinch.
I'm Hannah Hembry Bell.
And we are Law Moms Out Loud. And today we have a very special guest with us. A couple of years ago, I started my personal development journey. Well, first, let me say I'm off camera. I had surgery this week, and y'all don't really want to see me right now. And I'm on pain meds, so I'm not going to be as chatty as normal. But I do just want to introduce Steph because I've talked to you guys about my personal development journey and how it really kicked into gear for me 2 years ago when I started to accept a life of personal responsibility and the laws of the universe. And that was through David Nagel and Steph Tuss, who is our guest here today. And so I'm so excited and happy and honored to be here with you today. Steph, thank you for joining us.
I'm excited to be here.
All right, Hannah, I'm going to kick it over to you for the interview.
Okay, yeah, right. So we are a bit of a mess on Law Moms Out Loud today. My voice is totally terrible. I don't know how different it sounds to everybody else, but I've struggled with vocal issues over the years, and now it is indicative of when I am not properly balanced in my life, because it means I haven't been getting enough rest, and so my voice goes to total crap. So we're just kind of coming in as we are, which is what I think law moms we do. We just kind of keep going, show goes on. So I'm really excited to be here with you, Steph. So kind of in your own words, for those of us not in the Nagel verse, we're not Nagel heads, right? What do you do? What's your deal?
Our deal. So we work with small business owners and consultants on business growth. We combine business mindset and growth mindset, which is very different than a working class mindset, with actual strategies, tactics, tangible, actionable plans to help a person kind of get out of their own way to begin to scale their business. So when someone comes to us, generally they've achieved a level of success in their business. So they've hit their first quote unquote financial goal, and they can't seem to get past that, or they're growing 1%, 3%, 4% a year, and are applying the concept of working harder, but nothing's changing. So they're feeling really stuck. And they come to us because what we do is help them see what's causing that stuckness so that they can get out of their own way, take the necessary steps, and begin to grow and scale their business.
Well, because what I found interesting, I'm really new to the personal development journey. Now, if you caught me before I was in the middle of this journey, I would have said, BS, I'm so personally developed. I don't know what you mean. And I feel like that word or that phrase almost, it's one of those things you hear and say so much, it almost sounds like it doesn't mean anything. Like if you say a word 7 times right, it starts to lose its meaning. Right. So when you say personal growth, personal development, what does that mean?
So for us, it's not about intelligence, right? I think that's really key, because you could read, every book out there on personal growth and development, professional development, and still be experiencing the same things that you've always been experiencing. Really, what personal growth and personal development is it's helping you along your path into deepening into your purpose, and also achieving the goals and the desires that are really important to you. So it's looking at basically understanding yourself more, understanding how you work, how you make decisions, and how you're creating the things around you, so that you can consciously make a different choice to begin to create the things that you really want, or whatever it is that next level is for you.
Well, and I think, at least in my thinking on this, why probably I didn't get into this sooner is it seemed a bit fluff, to be honest. Like if you just think positive and you set goals, you will have a good life. Or something where you can do a quiz online, like A, B, or like rank on this and that, like a Cosmo quiz or something equivalent, right? And because there's a lot of that stuff out there. And can you differentiate or speak at all to why the work that you do, the work that David Nagel does, this world isn't just a bunch of fluff, read an article, clickbait list? Like, how is this different than that?
Well, because we apply everything to your business. So this is very much not like The Secret. I'm not sure if you're familiar with with The Secret. It was very, very
Sure.
popular. It came out, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And the premise of The Secret was all about the law of attraction. Like, think a certain way and things will come to you. But the truth is that real change doesn't occur without creating new experiences for yourself. So the first part is understanding why you do or don't do something, because let's be honest, as business owners, there are things that you know you should be doing that you're procrastinating on.
I don't know what you mean. I always do my to-do list. Thank you very much.
Personally developed, right? So like look
Yes.
at where your points of resistance are. Those are key indicators that that's an area that you need to look at to grow through. And then the idea is putting behaviors in place that create a new experience that then reprogram that pattern of resistance, that pattern of procrastination. So we don't just look at the mindset and talk about, this is why this is happening. And, if you just think about this, it's going to be different. You can't think your way into change. You have to also pair it with action. So the idea is that we give you the awareness that you need to make a different conscious choice to create a new action that's going to create a new result.
And so do you think that there's some entry point for most people? And what I mean is, because this phrase, and I'm sure I've said it on here before, of when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I love little quotes and is it called amorphisms, aphorisms? How do you say that? And so I'd always heard that one and was like, what is that? I'm a student. I'm ready. Like, what does that even mean? I know how to go to school. I'm good at school. Teachers are just there. So can you speak at all to that idea of like, because for me, 38 years old, when I got introduced to this whole world, really the concept of growing as a person, when I always wanted to be a good person, I always wanted to do the right thing. That's always been me. But those monumental leaps that I've experienced really started when I got into this business coaching stuff that I'm doing that deals a lot with mindset and the practical aspect. But do you find that something happens for people and that teacher appears?
I think they have to start asking a different question, and that's when the teacher appears, right? There are people who never ask a different question, and so they stay at the same level, kind of mucking about, feeling like they've got cement boots on for their entire lifetime, right? But I think the person that steps out of that and asks a different question, like, okay, I've tried every marketing strategy out there. I know it's got to be me. I know it's got to be what's going on between my two ears that's causing the problem. For then their attention to be shifted away, how can I be doing things different, to how can I be different so that I can do things different? And that's kind of when the teacher appeared. That's what it was for me. So I was 30 when I came into this, as you called it, as we call it, Nagelverse. I was 30 years old. I was very unhappy. And I couldn't see myself doing the same thing for another 30 years. Like, to me, that would have meant death, right? So I began to ask a different question. Like, is this all that there is? Is there more for me? And if so, who do I need to be to be able to do that? And that's when I started becoming aware of this whole world around this whole world of mindset.
Well, because when people talk about mindset, I think that's another one of those words that's like, what does that even mean? Right? For me, we've talked about this, like a growth mindset. Before I read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck, I would have argued with anybody. Of course, I have a growth mindset. Like, I think positive. I'm optimistic is what I was really saying. I'm an optimistic person. And I equated, it was a false equivalency between the two for me. And so when you say the word mindset, I think that just means different things to different people, right? Like, for a lot of people, mindset means a positive outlook on life. So I'm kind of trying to weave these things together. If we can define some terms, we can think about the conversation the same. So like, whenever we think about mindset, what does that mean if it doesn't mean a positive, optimistic outlook? What is mindset to you?
Mindset goes back into how you think. So it's your program beliefs, your values, your program patterns, right? So I'm going to use me as an example. I grew up very middle class. My dad was a auto factory worker for 30 years. My mom was a credit manager at the local hospital. So she was actually the person in charge of calling people and saying, hey, you owe the hospital money. I can't, sounds like the worst job, honestly. I can't imagine her doing that. But so I grew up very, very steeped in security and no risk. So my mindset, how I thought about things, was I saw everything from what's going to provide security for me. My dad saw everything from what's going to provide security for my family, right? It's a very, very middle class way of thinking. I'm trying not to use the word mindset. The very middle class way of thinking is to be able to feel secure in the situation that you're in. So right out of high school, I'm a teacher. I love teaching. I knew that I loved teaching even when I was in high school. And I thought, okay, well, a really great secure job would be, I'm going to go and get my teaching degree. So I went and got my teaching degree, and then I started teaching. And I love teaching the kids, but there were so many things about being a teacher that were awful. There wasn't an opportunity for growth, really. There was so much red tape. I was teaching in California at the time, and it was a complete disaster back in the 90s. I don't know if it's any better now, but it was pretty bad in the 90s. We didn't have music teachers, we didn't have art teachers. It was all benchmark based. So I really felt like there was no room for creativity. I felt like people were operating from not what's in the best interest of the kids, and it was against my own personal beliefs. But I stayed teaching for 10 years because I had the mindset of security. I would be crazy to leave this job because I get full benefits.
Retirement.
I get retirement, and I get a guaranteed check every month because teachers are paid monthly. At least we were. But it wasn't what I really wanted. So I was really stuck in that place of feeling in my heart that I wanted something different, that I really wanted something different for myself, but also being tormented inside with this inner tug of war of, but you can't have that because you won't be secure. And, this would be a crazy thing for you to do. And what would people think, which is also steeped in a lot of the middle class, belong, stay within your means. And so what I had to do is I had to.
In East Texas, we say, don't get too big for your britches.
Don't get too big for your britches. Who do you think you are? Right? So
right.
I had to step out of that and adopt a different mindset. I had to adopt a different belief system, which was kind of high risk, which was growth based. Okay, growing up, I was always told I could do and be whatever I wanted, but that's not the message that I'm getting from everyone around me. I'm going to see if that's actually going to play out. Right? So I had to be willing to take a risk, to push back against all these past beliefs and programming to be able to achieve the level of success that I have. So when you say mindset, it's kind of like, I think of mindset is like a computer operating system. It's your current computer operating system in your mind that's responsible for your current level of results. And every time you grow, you have to upgrade that operating system. You have to learn to think differently about things. You have to learn to think differently about what leadership means, what sales means, what money means, because most of us were not raised in entrepreneurial families with a growth mindset or a high risk mindset. Instead, we were raised with the idea of don't be too big for your britches and security. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does a lot, because it's like the way I think that is what you're talking about and kind of brings together some of the things I've learned is it's your default programming, like your default settings, when you get to this sort of asking new questions, ready for an awakening and I don't even mean spiritual awakening, which that could be, but I'm like, please, everybody don't get triggered by that, but just like a wake up situation in your heart and mind, where you start to look at, wait, I have default settings. And I relate to that. My parents, probably my mom is watching. She worked for an insurance company, had a really good living, solid paycheck. My dad, now he had a bit of a more entrepreneurial spirit. He at first sold life insurance and then was an independent contractor courier. So if he didn't work, he didn't get money. So there was a bit of that. But having that paycheck, having that stability, and they'd overcome a lot in life. So the big growth probably for them was to rise out of what they had to deal with into a stable environment. And I stand on their shoulder. I just got chill. Oh, Mom, I love you if you're watching this. I stand on their shoulders to think big thoughts and dream big dreams because they gave me the security they didn't have. And so what happened for me, I've always had this make something out of nothing inside of me. Like I want to bring things forth. But what I realized is even though that was there, I was doing it in the default programming of safety, security. So I would never take a risk unless it was like a sure thing in my own mind, even though it might look risky from the outside. On the inside, it was like, oh no, that's a sure thing, even though it looks risky. So I think considering it, this world of re-examining your defaults, like where do you default to, what was put on you and what's in you. And the things that were put on us, right, are our parents' ideals, our colleagues, where we grew up living in particular, like when we're those younger years. Like, oh no, like for me, it wasn't my parents that told me this, but I probably where I grew up, I thought you go off to college, you get married, you come back, you get engaged, you come back, you get married, you have babies. That's literally exactly what I did. Went off to college, got engaged at like 20, got married at 21, babies at 23. And all along the way, it wasn't until I was turning 30, maybe 30 is a big year for women. It sounds like that's when it was for you too. At 30, I said, I remember distinctly scrolling on my old Facebook and seeing all these different pictures and saying to myself, when's my real life going to start? And I went, this is my real life. And there was, again, this something more, these different questions and things to ask for me. And that ended up leading me to get divorced and all kinds of stuff out of that. But maybe it's people come into your world, Steph, like how we did, right? When they're ready to re-examine the default. Is that accurate?
I think that's very accurate. Their results are telling them something's wrong. They can't fix it themselves. And they're finally like in a place where I know that there's something that I don't know about this. So they're coming from a place of, I know that I don't know, right? And they're looking for help with understanding how they work and what needs to change in their thinking.
Well, and I think for law moms and law mom supporters, there's a sense among lawyers, there's two camps kind of. There's one, you got to act like you know everything all of the time because you're the lawyer. People want to call you when there's a problem. And honestly, sometimes people call me when there's a problem. I'm like, God dang it, you need a lawyer. I'm like, oh shit, I'm the lawyer. What are we going to do, right? But I'm paid to know answers. I'm paid to deliver results. So there's a real inertia to looking like and acting like you've got it all together and you know everything. Now, people who are probably interested in this show and have made it, 15 minutes or whatever so far, there's the rest of us who in this community of law moms who are trying to grow as moms, lawyers, and people. We come to it with this idea of growth requires admitting there's something, either a lack that you don't have now that you need to move towards, or like a need to know more that you don't know everything. Because if you already knew everything, you wouldn't need to grow, right? So I think it's important for law moms, our community being able to support each other. And I hate to say the word normalizing because that's another one of those words that's like buzzes in my ears at this point, but like make it our default as a community to admit we don't know. We're willing to ask those harder questions and start to do the work to have more. But it goes against our nature, our training. In law school, if you're familiar with how this works, Steph, right? Like whenever you're in class, the teacher will call on you and you got to stand up and recite a case. Here's the facts. Here's what happened. Here's why. You've got to be ready to be grilled. So like from our training from day one, you stand up and you better know the answer. So any thoughts for our listeners, watchers, whatever, in that position of breaking out of a shell of admitting they don't know so they can maybe ask different questions? Like maybe what's the first step to do that?
So I think it actually goes back before law school even, right? When you think of how you were raised in school as a child, if you didn't know the answer to something, it was humiliating. Like if you got called on by the teacher and you didn't know the answer or you weren't paying attention, it was like there was a sense of shame associated with that. There was also a sense of shame with making mistakes in school, right? And you've got, law moms who are highly intelligent, intellectual people, most of them, right? I mean, I've spoken to a ton of women attorneys. They're all very, very intelligent. And a lot of times their sense of worth is based on how much they know, right? Rather than who they are as a person. So I think the idea, and I do this all the time, is just admitting when you don't know the answer to something, but then saying, I don't know about that, but I'll find the answer. And knowing that you're not going to be struck down by lightning. All of your clients aren't going to run for the hills. You'll be just fine. That's an illogical, irrational fear that's controlling you, causing you to feel like you have to perform 100% of the time.
Well, and I think when we admit, Kate's real good about this, when we show up as we are and admit that we don't know, we give other people the grace and space to do that themselves, right? Like that's how, we show up post-surgery, no voice, whatever, here we are, like we're doing it, right? And I think that if law moms, if we can be willing alongside each other, you really don't have to do it alone because the community is strong. You can come along other people to say, I don't know, but not even just internal facing to our people, but think about as we turn and face the rest of the world and admit we don't know. Because it also conveys confidence, because if you're willing to say you don't know, you've already established, I will not get struck down by lightning. You may think I'm an idiot, but kind of, oh well, and can convey that confidence. I think it gives people permission to do that too. Now, another thing you said, so I'm like, I have my little remarkable. Kate inspired me to get the remarkable. I just love it. And one of the things you keep talking about is this spark, this something in you wanting more. And whenever we were first conceptualizing Law Moms, in my heart and mind, the point was to get at women with that spark, where there maybe had some babies, they're living their life, and something in them says, there's got to be more to it than this. I've got the fancy job. I've got the BMW. I've got the 2.3 kids. I've got the $1 million house, maybe with the pool. I go on vacation to the beach every year. And yet, isn't there more? Do you think that question, that spark, is only in some people? Or perhaps is it only in people willing to listen?
I think that sparks in everyone because it's true in all of nature, right? So, Kate mentioned universal law when she introduced me, and the whole premise of universal law is for more life. Life is always seeking life. So everyone and everything is always seeking more life. So somebody wants more of something generally all the time. Whether or not they'll admit it to themselves is another thing. Whether or not they'll make themselves wrong for wanting something or feel guilty for wanting
You're getting, Steph, you haven't watched any of these shows probably, but when we start talking about knowing what we want and admitting it, you get right into my heart. You a little bit. Well, I want to talk to you about that in a minute, but anyway, go ahead. Sorry, Spark, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. That's where I do think everyone has that spark, but I do think a lot of people have convinced themselves that they don't, or that they're not worth it, or that they can't have it. So why bother wanting more in the first place?
Why do people do that, Steph?
Why do people do what?
Convince themselves they don't want it or they couldn't have it anyway. Why do they buy that bullshit?
Lots of reasons. One is that they were never really allowed to express what they wanted as a child. So they were shut down very early, right? Or they were shamed for the things that they wanted, or embarrassed or humiliated for the things that they wanted. So it just shut everything down at a very young age. Or necessity required them to self-sacrifice. So maybe something was really tumultuous in the family and they had to step up and be the parent. They had to be the caretaker. So they had to put their wants aside in order for them and their family to survive, right? So they just got used to completely ignoring what they wanted, because what they wanted actually threatened their childhood security. The other reason people don't allow themselves to want what they want is because it would require them to let go of something. Right? So here we talk about the law of sacrifice, accepting something of a higher nature in place of something from a lower nature. But people are really afraid of the things that they need to let go of. So someone will begin to think about what they want and immediately say, I can't do that. I can't have that. And then over time, it just begins to, they just become a robot going through the motions of what other people want for them.
Well, I think this is particularly true for moms and the doctrine of self-sacrifice. I want to pause there for a minute because there's a little book that, so I have 4 kids. I have a baby. One of those is a baby, and I'm divorced and remarried. So like I have Biggs and then a baby. And she has this book by Jimmy Fallon about mama. Okay. Like you're trying to get the baby to say mama, and all the way through it says like mama duck, mama dog, mama. Okay. And at the end, there's a little line that says something, mama, something. And then pretty soon you'll realize mama's everything is you at the end. And I was reading this to my daughter and I'm like, so I changed the ending and I forbid everybody at my house from reading it as it is. I'm like, if you're going to read this book, this is what we say. And pretty soon you'll realize mom has her own life too. Because I think it's from, look in this little book, to be a good mama, the stuff in Hallmark cards, the stuff in books, everything we have has to be for others, right? Like the little colloquialism about like motherhood is there being 4 slices of pie for 5 people. And then the mom suddenly says, I never liked pie, right? The altar of motherhood requires us to become invisible so that the other people in our life can live their fullest life. And do you have any thoughts on how we, on that in general, / how we break out of that doctrine of sacrifice specifically for moms?
I think you have to realize, again, I'm going to speak from my own experience because I've got 2. I've got 2 girls right now. They are 19 and 21. So we're empty nesting for the first time. But when I was building my business, they were very young. And I can't even tell you the layers of mom guilt that I needed to peel away in order to build that business. Both things that I heard my own mom say, like not even realizing what she was saying, things society says, things my own kids would say, things my friends would say, to keep you in this place of you're the mom, so you have to self-sacrifice for everyone else. And it's just simply not the truth. And if you look at in other cultures, it's not the truth, right? So we had to consciously make a decision about how we were going to lead our life. I had aspirations. If I didn't follow my aspirations, I know that I would have had mental health issues, regular old health issues. Like how many moms out there have, thyroid issues or autoimmune disease because they're not allowing themselves to be who they want to be. Instead, they're quietly, doing everything behind the scenes, taking care of everybody else before they take care of themselves. When really, I knew in raising 2 girls that they were going to watch what I was going to do. And I wanted to provide an example for them of an empowered female going after what she wanted to go after, because that's what I wanted for them. So we completely redesigned our life. We raised our kids in a very non-traditional way, especially back when they were little. And it was a real, you have to make a real conscious decision that, no, I can be a good mom and I can also do all these things that I want to do and experience the things that I want to experience. They're not or, they're and.
I tell you, Steph, that's some tough stuff. I mean, of all our shows and all the things we've tried to do, this idea right here to me is integral, because in talking with other women, it feels and seems that we are so programmed, I think, by society, by the men in our lives, sometimes by other women, that to be a good mom has to look like this. And to actually also thrive as a person is selfish. And that, like, I want to do this. Like, for instance, I had a situation come up recently where my kids wanted me to do one thing and gave me a guilt trip and try to make me feel guilty about it, you know, either intentional or unintentional, right? Just like did this whole thing. But for me, in my highest self, I needed to be there for my friend. I needed to do what I needed to do as a person. And I made the choice, look, I'm going to do this other thing because for me as a human being, as a real life person who's not even, forget being anybody's mom, wife, sister, whatever, for my friend, I'm doing this. And I had to stand in my full power and full awakening to know this is not selfish. This is me doing and being true to me without, you know, my kids were taken care of. Nobody was out in the street. Nobody didn't have dinner, right? Of course. But I think so many women, our starting point is to be a mother means putting everyone else first. And if there's a little teeny tiny smidge left at the end, we can have that leftover crumb. And I think the core issue, which is what I was saying, you're getting my heart space, is thinking about what we want. Because I ask every single person this, and people, this is a throwaway question. They'll say, well, you have to go after what you want. You have to make goals. You have to really listen to what you want. I really am willing to bet basically everything that I can see around me that I own. People don't know how to know what they want, because to make the decision of self, to make decisions for themselves, they have to be making it for something, right? A desire, a want, a goal, or else you're just kind of living. So the admitting is, number one, identifying what we want, and then admitting what that is. That combo to me is where most of us get stuck. I know that's where I can get stuck, like the movie Julia Roberts, where she doesn't know how she likes her eggs, right? Because for a lot of us, not only are we, you know, programmed to be this way, we maybe our personalities can be this way. I'm like, oh, I'm cool with whatever. Where do you want to go to dinner? Oh, I'm good with whatever. And that is true usually. So do you have any advice or just thoughts for people to break through that space of not knowing what they want and figuring out what that is? How do they do it?
So they have to make a decision that they're willing to see whatever they want, whatever this is, for one. So they have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable with themselves. And then I think you're going to ask me what I'm currently reading. So this kind of applies here.
Good, let's do it.
There is a great book, and this applies to both business and your personal life. There's a really great book called Vivid Vision. It's by Cameron. Yeah. And he takes a really different approach to what do you want. He frames it in a very different way that causes you to think about how you want to feel, what you want to experience, how you want other people to treat you and act around you. That takes it out of the, well, what do you want? Well, I want, $1 million business. It takes it out of that, like, I have to say what I want in one succinct sentence, right? And frames it around, what do you want your life to look like? How do you want to feel inside? What do you want to wake up to and look at every day? And it's also in a framework of, let's just play with this. Like, you don't have to take action on it. You're not writing anything in stone. You're just allowing yourself to fantasize about what it is that you really want. Because let's be honest, that's where it lies. It lies in your creative mind, in your daydreams, in your secret thoughts. Most people know what they want because their secret thoughts are whispering to them, things can be different. You can have what you want. But that secret voice is so quiet, it gets drowned out by all the other voices in their head. So my recommendation would be to actually get the book and give yourself like 4 hours. Go someplace in nature. If you're not a nature person, go someplace that's inspiring. Go sit in a museum, go to a great coffee shop, and sit with it and go through and answer some of those questions. And you'll begin to get a vision for where it is that you want to go and the changes that you want to make without the need to actually like commit to anything. You can start to play with those ideas, to begin opening the door to see some of the things that you want to have or who you want to be.
Ooh, Kate, I think that this is a good exercise for the retreat, is taking that book and maybe having everybody go through and do some of that is a really good idea.
Yes, I love it. Great
well,
idea.
and in the book space, there's another book that I swear to God, I've got to track this author down. Maybe somebody sent her this. Please come talk to me. I always say I'm always like pimping her book all over the place. It's called The Crossroads of Should and Must: Find and Follow Your Passion by L. Luna. Have you seen this book, Steph?
I have not.
Okay. So it's one of those things. Now I know books cross your path when they're meant to, right? And this is an artist book. She's an artist, so it has pictures and colors, which I'm like, ooh. She, to date, gives you the most practical ways to sort of like notice patterns, and steps you can go through to identify what's your shoulds, right? Like the things that have been put on you by society, parents, experience, etc. should, and instead coming with the must, that inner need to do what you must do in connection with like your core purpose, your values, whatever. And so I recommend everybody consider getting that book too. Sounds like between the two of these, you would definitely know how you like your eggs. But the part for me, a little practical step that I've taken recently that I found helpful is noting at the end of the day what I enjoyed today. Because I think a lot of times we don't necessarily think a lot about enjoyment because we're busy, and I'm such a doer. Make things happen, get things done, practical, etc. And to think about what did I enjoy in the day, that is mind-blowing to me. And I only, like, somebody told us to do it a while back, and I did it in a journal, a real like paper journal. And I pulled that out because I'd lost my Remarkable, these little pencils. Oh my God, I'd lost it. So I couldn't use it. So I pulled back out my old journal and I couldn't help but flip for a few minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, it felt like nothing at the time to note those things I enjoyed back then. Cause it was just like, this is weird. I'm writing down, I really enjoyed my cup of tea this morning, whatever. But look, what valuable data to me to look back even 3, 4, 6 months ago and see what I enjoyed then and ask, do I still enjoy that now? Am I doing more of that? Am I missing doing that? So perhaps noting our enjoyment matters. And I think that what I'm saying and what you're saying is similar in that it requires time to listen and consider and to hear. Oprah talks about the whispers. I probably say that, I swear to God, every show, but those whispers. And if we are harried moms, lawyers, people run around like chickens with their heads cut off every single day to everything, there's no space in which to consider, I guess. So 100%. Maybe that's, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just said, I agree 100%. We don't give ourselves the space to do that.
So I think that's one of our, challenges or something, ladies and gents who are watching and other people, to really assess what we want. And maybe that can help us, Steph, if we start out with assessing what we want, by maybe what we enjoy, things that we wish we had more of.
So a shortcut to this, honestly.
Okay, yes.
Is asking again a different question. So the things that you're tolerating in your life, on the flip side, is what you want. So if you just simply sit for a while and make a list of all the things in your life that you're tolerating, and then flip that to, okay, if this is a toleration, if this is something that I don't want but I'm putting up with, what's on the flip side of that? What do I desire? And you begin to start to see the things that you actually want in a very tangible, specific way, right?
Mm. Well, and so that's where it's easier for us to list out problems, probably.
Yes.
So here's a list of, annoying things. Like I can't stand my kitchen cabinets because the handle's always coming off, right? Well, I really want a really nice kitchen now that you mention it, right? Is on the other side of that. So, okay. So we're going to list the tolerations. The flip side is going to help us determine what we want. And then for people who are like, okay, then what? I know what I want now. So where do they go next, Steph?
Well, if you want a new kitchen, you should start booking consultations with people that can come and renovate your kitchen.
Fair.
Right?
I guess that easy. Yeah.
Right? The idea is once you begin to uncover what it is that you want, what's stopping you from having those things? It's all the stories that you tell yourself in your mind about why you can't have them. And that's all based in old programming. You wouldn't want those things if you couldn't have them.
Well, so as people do this work and they get there, and really wanting to ask the different questions, and they're new, pretend they're like me, they're like David Nagel, who personal development, what, where can they start getting into the world? I mean, we know what we're talking about because we're in that world, but I didn't recently. So I feel like it was an accident. I mean, I know it's not an accident. I was bringing it forth to me, but it felt like an accident that I discovered a lot of this stuff. So rather than by accident, what would be your prescription? So lawyer mom's gone through, she's thought about what she wants, identified that she doesn't have that, is ready to do something about it. What resources and tools maybe in your world are available on that journey?
I think it's about keeping the truth in front of you, right? So for us, we put out a podcast. We were putting out 5 episodes a week, just continually putting the truth in front of people. We've scaled back to 2 episodes a week, which is way more manageable.
Yes.
Put out a podcast, and it's really all about getting you to think differently so that you can have something different in your life. And I think when you can continue to put the truth in front of you, you can make change faster. So, for example, using your example of a new kitchen, right? You're annoyed by the fact that the handles keep falling off, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to uncover what your current mindset is, ask yourself, what excuses do I tell myself that allow me to continue tolerating this? And that's going to give you a very clear glimpse as to what your operating system is, because that's what's causing your results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm writing it literally. We can make comments and call outs.
So if you're thinking about your kitchen,
I'm doing it right now.
Excuses could be, it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to be a huge inconvenience to remodel the kitchen. It's probably going to be one more thing for me to deal with. I don't know what color to paint it. You think of all the different excuses that you give yourself for not having this thing. And that will tell you exactly where you need to grow, because those excuses in most instances are based in false truths.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we can keep putting truth in front of ourselves. We can listen to the David Nagel podcast. Who are some other people, that people could consider listening to so they can find maybe their kind of flavor of things? Do you have other recommendations too?
Oh man, I'm not a podcast listener generally.
Okay. Or thought leader,
oh my gosh, so many good books. A great book is U Squared by Price Pritchett. It's about how to create quantum leaps in your life and your business. Another great book, and these are classics, The Science of Getting Rich, As a Man Thinketh. I don't want to go too fast. You're writing these all down.
Yeah, I'm writing down. I'm sure we can get it later. Okay. And then, so this would be the truth in front of them. Now, please be, a little self-serving here too, but I know that this is so helpful. Aren't y'all offering some stuff coming up pretty soon that could be of help to people in this journey?
Yes. So we're doing a 3-part training on how to reverse engineer a multi-7-figure business, because what we've noticed with our business owners, and many of them are law firm owners, is that they get to a certain point, generally just above the 1 million in revenue, and then they get really stuck. And they've been focused so long on hitting this 1 million in revenue that they haven't taken the time to really think about what's next for them and begin to reverse engineer it. And part of that requires support. So you run into, or we run into, female law firm owners that in order for them to get to the next level, they've got to have more help at home.
Amen.
They've got to bring in a housekeeper. They've got to bring in a personal assistant. Like, the thought of a personal assistant for some of these business owners seems so outlandish, and it's so critical to the growth of their business. So this free training that we're doing is really going to help high 6, low 7-figure business owners really begin to start to think about how to reverse engineer that process to put things in place so that they can proceed with a new operating system to get to where they want to go in terms of scaling their business.
And we'll put some links, I think, of how people could register and get involved and do that. Now, for a second, we might we'll take a quick deviation from like the promo part. One of the things, I think, Kate, you were going to talk about this, like about thinking about our dominant thoughts. That is kind of a fun little part we do on the show.
Sure. Yes, Steph. So have you had a dominant thought of the week that's just been circling in your brain?
Oh yeah, we have had all kinds of adversity this week. So my dominant thought has been, what's the opportunity in this? I know that whenever something bad, quote unquote, bad happens, that there's also an opportunity that's present as well. So my focus this week has been on letting go of the bad thing that's happened and really looking at what's the opportunity here.
Kate, do you have a dominant thought this week?
Oh man, for me, it's all rest and healing. Not a whole lot of thinking, actually.
Yeah, well, no. I literally pulled a quote today, Kate, from Gretchen Rubin's email, which is, I talk about her every show too. To keep going, sometimes we need to allow ourselves to stop. And I think, Kate, you're being a very good example of that for us this week. So I'm so glad you're sharing that. I think my dominant thought is about intention. And I feel often, and have felt for a substantial period of time, out of control with my calendar. So much gets in there between all the different things I'm managing. And I have a lot of help, but a lot of help, and that requires a lot of me too, right? And instead, the exercise I've been doing this week, and Kate's been working on it too, is what is my intention for this day? Deciding that kind of the day before, the evening or afternoon before for the next day, reviewing it before you go to sleep. And when you wake up, it's like, this is happening today. This is going to move the needle. This is going to advance the ball. This is going to make me happier, whatever. These big ticket items, these will happen before I go to bed today, the end. Having that in front of me has really helped me be intentional in, I've got a 10-minute space, right? And I normally might be like, oh, no, what am I going to do for 10 minutes? I don't know. I've got so much to do. Instead, I go to my top 2 or 3 things that are happening today. And I'm like, Hannah, you've got to make progress on those, or you're going to be up at 10 o'clock tonight doing it, because you're not going to bed till it's done. So being intentional with my behaviors has kind of been my dominant thought.
Are we ready for some gold stars, Hannah? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Gold star wise, yes, let's do it.
Okay, well, at the end of every show, first, I just have to say this has been such an incredible conversation. I loved what y'all discussed about mindset and what it is, and this paradigm of in motherhood and moms putting themselves last and figuring out what we want. I mean, this has just been such a powerful conversation with incredible women. So thank you all for having this conversation. Thank you, Steph, for being here. And at the end of every show, we like to give out gold stars to ourselves, either in the realm of motherhood or personhood or lawyerhood. And so, Steph, do you want to go first and pick your gold star in your realm?
My realm is motherhood. And my gold star is both of my girls are out of the house. My 19-year-old just went back to college, so she's in an adjustment period. And my 21-year-old just moved to a new apartment in a different city. So lots of transition. And my gold star goes to me for not jumping in and saving the day every time they call and say, this isn't working, I don't know what to do. And instead really taking the coach role or the mentor role rather than the jump in and save you mom role, and asking them, what do you think you should do in this situation? What do you think would be the best way to handle this? What do you think should be your next step? And really empowering them to step into their own level of self-confidence to figure it out, with me totally resisting the urge to jump in and just fix it.
Well, that's what you teach us. That's what you've taught me about leadership, is just asking those questions and letting people figure it out on their own. So you're practicing what you preach, Steph. How about you, Hannah? What's your gold star?
I think mine's going to be a lawyer gold star. And I'm kidding. I didn't even get to say, look, I'm being honorary Kate today, y'all. I have a yellow tulle skirt, which is very fun for me as I'm having my yellow gold star moment. I knew we wouldn't be saying, and this is actually Kate's hand-me-down skirt to me. So I'm embodying full Kate as I'm trying to full lawyer. And I think mine would be, there have been a lot of things with the law firm I've wanted to do for a long time, and some systems and policies, and it's like a bunch of to-do things. I put it back here, like in this back part of my head, that I've wanted to get done, and it's just too much for one person to do. And now I've been able to recruit literally the best team on the planet, and seeing all of these things get handled that are not me doing it for our firm, so we can serve our clients, help them protect their kids, their money, and their business better, is, as a lawyer, firm owner, so incredibly gratifying. And I need a gold, universe to express how happy it makes me. I'm excited.
Oh, a sky full of stars. Yeah. Well, and mine is in the realm of personhood. I'm giving myself a gold star for doing the surgery, which I'm going to share with you guys some more about it. But it's an elective surgery that I chose to do for me. And it is a scary thing, first of all, approaching surgery and going under anesthesia and doing this thing, and then accepting all the help that you need on the back end. Like, sweet Hannah came over and even spent the night at the house and gave me my meds in the middle of the night and helped me go to the bathroom and all of that. So doing it, accepting the help, and making the decision to do this for me, I'm glad I did. So that's my gold star.
Ooh, I feel like that's a pretty badass round out. Ladies, I think we kind of did it this week. Now, last thing here, Steph, I hear you're sort of new / back to Instagram, and we're working on getting the gram going and everybody following. I'm following you. I didn't know it was new. I'm following you and love all of it. So how can people do that?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's just, I think it's Instagram.com/Steph Tuss, STEPHTUSS. Yes, I'm not new to Instagram, but up until about a month and a half ago, I was very much behind the scenes. So as CEO, I was the person behind the scenes, pulling all the strings and making everything happen. And we're currently going through a rebrand where both David and myself are forward facing and really leading the company. So took my Instagram off private, and now it's public, and I'm posting all kinds of tips, anything from self-care to parenting to leadership and business. So follow me.
Well, it sounds like the exact sort of content our Law Mom Squad would be interested in. I know I'm super interested. It's been very valuable to me. So Steph, thank you so much for coming. Kate, for braving this after, your recovery and everything this week. We have so enjoyed having you. I hope you'll be a guest again in the future. And I know I have some to-dos, especially my big takeaway is I'm going to get that Vivid Vision book. I want to do the exercise. Kate, I think we should integrate it as part of the retreat. So we have a Law Moms retreat in December, and a lot of our people are coming to that. So I think we should do it then. I'm so glad for the tip.
Yes, love it. Thank you, Steph, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, thanks. Bye, everybody.